We're back in the kitchen. Today we're gonna make a different kind of pot roast. It's Italian, and it's got a red sauce and wine in it, and it's gonna be really, really good. But it starts with a chuck roast. We're gonna cook it very slow and very low. I'm starting it off a little bit higher. I've preheated my oven to 350, but I will turn it down. And this is about a 4 1/4 pound roast. It looks pretty good the way. We are gonna salt and pepper this meat and get it right into this hot pan. Has some olive oil in it, not too much, but it will be enough to help it create a crust. And I'm gonna do this pretty liberally. We wanna have plenty of salt and pepper on this meat. Notice I'm not using my regular salt and pepper stuff. I always pull it out separate. People are funny about that. We don't want to put our dirty hands back into the one we use for everything else. All right. Let's go. All right, this is hot. We're gonna put it down in that pan and we're gonna let it get a nice crust all around it. I'll turn it a couple of times and we'll try to get the little sides and then we'll be back. While that roast is getting a good sear on it, we're gonna go ahead and cut up the vegetables. All we use are some garlic, onion, celery, and carrots. And we just do a rough chop on them. You don't want it too small because it's gonna be in there a long time. The garlic we're just gonna slice and it's gonna go on right at the end before it goes in the oven or it'll burn and it'll ruin the whole thing. And that's all we're doing. That roast smells really, really good.
It does.
And it's almost time to flip it.
I think it's going to taste good too.
It's going to be real good. You know, my son is not a real fan of pot roast in the traditional sense. He likes to maybe have the meat cooked a different way. Maybe in a beef tips and rice or something like that. But he's not crazy of just the traditional roast dinner. I think he's really gonna like this because he is a nut for Italian. All right, I'm leaving this separate because we're gonna do it last. I'm gonna flip this thing, it's a big one. That's gonna create some really good flavor. It didn't need to be floured. Since this is an Italian style with tomato sauce, I didn't want to put flour on it. I'm not trying to make a roux or a gravy, so that's why it's just plain salt and pepper and that's it. And as soon as this gets brown on this side, we'll be back. We'll put the rest of the stuff in it. Get it getting there. Just moving it around to the different sides. And I'm going to pull it out of this pan and I'm going to throw those veggies in and get a little color on them. And then we'll put it all back together. The meat's out for a minute. We're going to try to get a little color on these vegetables. Put a little tiny bit of salt and pepper. I'm not going to leave it a real long time. And add our garlic. Like I said, we have to do that last or it will burn and ruin everything. We don't want anything to ruin this meal. We are not going to leave it in here more than maybe 2 minutes. And then I'm going to remove these vegetables, get the meat back in, put it all back together. And we'll put our liquid ingredients in and be ready to go in the oven. Put it all together. And we're going to get this thing in the oven. We're going to cook some pasta in a little while. And we're going to make some cheesy garlic bread. We're going to make lettuce wedge salads. I'm going to make my homemade blue cheese dressing and some homemade balsamic vinaigrette. And we'll do that next. Now we're going to add a cup of red wine. It's not cheap wine. This is the good stuff that I drink.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. And we're gonna add 2 28-ounce cans, that's those big cans, of crushed tomatoes and 1 can of water, just to get all the residual tomato out of the can, really. That's all we need. I'm gonna lift this thing up and get the liquid going all around it. Now, these chuck roasts, actually, in my opinion, have the best flavor for just a regular pot roast. And although it's not as tender and you have to cook it a long time, since this is a 4 1/4 pound roast, I'm not sure how long I'm gonna have it in the oven, but I would say at least 4 to 4.5 hours. Maybe a little bit longer, we'll see when we get close. I'm gonna add a couple of teaspoons of Italian seasoning. If I'd had some fresh oregano and a little fresh rosemary, maybe some thyme, I would have added that, just the sprigs, and it would have been great, but I don't, so we're gonna go with that. And the only other thing I'm gonna do is what I've always done, is put just a little sugar in there to balance out the acidity of the tomatoes. Doesn't need much, maybe a teaspoon and a half, 2 teaspoons. All right, we've got everything in here. We're gonna put this thing in the oven and let it cook. I'm gonna leave it on 350 for a while. Maybe a couple of hours. And then I might turn it down to about 275 or 300. I don't know yet. It just depends on what it's doing. I kind of have to look at it and feel of it and see what's going on with it before I make the big decisions. The main thing is I want it to be fall apart tender roast.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna make my famous blue cheese dressing. I've been making this for 35 years. It's really lerping, and I think you're gonna like it if you're a blue cheese lover. It starts with equal parts, a 1/2 cup, kind of heaping each, of mayonnaise, and use the real thing for this, sour cream and buttermilk. That's the beginning, and like I said, you can see it. I'm just heaping it just a little bit, not a major amount, but you want a little bit, just a little bit more.
Of the sour cream?
Just a little more of sour cream and mayonnaise. And the buttermilk is just about right at the 1/2 cup mark.
Cool.
You can use light if you're just making, I've done it. I've done this with half light mayo, half real mayo.
But mayonnaise is not Miracle Whip.
No, don't use Miracle Whip, although I love Miracle Whip. I grew up on it. But
Not for blue cheese dressing.
not for the dressing.
No.
Nope. All right. Now we're gonna add our buttermilk, and the rest is just really quick. I've got a teaspoon of garlic powder. You can't use real garlic in it, it'll ruin it. And a nice healthy 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, because I like a little kick. There it goes. I won't leave any of it.
Nope.
And about a teaspoon of red wine vinegar.
How long did it take for you to start just measuring as you pour instead of using measuring?
Gosh, I don't know. I've always done that.
You're so good at that.
I don't know. You know, you have to get it the way you want it. I'm gonna whisk it a little bit. And all we're gonna do after this is drop in that blue cheese. This is a strong blue cheese, but we want it to sit in the refrigerator for a few hours and taste really good. And then we're gonna move on after I clear this mess up a little bit. We're gonna make a balsamic vinaigrette. And all we're doing is crumbling it.
That's all there is to it?
That's it.
That's so easy.
It's an easy recipe, and it's really very good. We're gonna do a balsamic vinaigrette. Very easy, very good. It starts with 1/2 cup of olive oil and about a 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar. I use one of these little jars because I just shake them up. It has a couple of teaspoons of Dijon mustard and about a tablespoon of honey. Pinch of pepper, about a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. All right, we got everything in there. Put the lid on, just shake it up. We're gonna drizzle this over the lettuce wedge salad with the blue cheese and all the other goodies. The next thing I'm gonna do, and I won't do it on camera, but I like my red onions to have a little less bite than just being raw. So I'm gonna slice them thin and I'm gonna put them in a little ice water for a few minutes just to take the edge off. And we're gonna crumble up some bacon and slice some grape tomatoes, and we'll put that salad together a little. We're gonna make a wedge salad. I've got the wedges already cut, they're chilled, and now we're gonna dress them up. First thing I'm gonna do is put some blue cheese on it. And it's probably gonna be a little more than it ought to be. But it needs to drizzle and it needs to look good and fall down over the thing.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna put a little bit of that balsamic vinaigrette we made earlier. Isn't that pretty? Not a lot of this. This is just a drizzle. Oh. It's more like a dessert than a salad.
That one's mine. I'm calling it.
These are the purple onions that I soaked for a while in some ice water to take off a little bit of the bite. But they're awfully good on this salad. And now we're gonna add a few tomatoes. And a little bit of bacon. How does that look? Isn't that pretty? We're making some garlic toast. I have equal amounts of olive oil and butter, some crushed garlic, a little bit of oregano, and we're just spreading it on the bread. Sometimes I slice it up real thin and do individual slices, but today I'm just doing it this way. We're gonna top it with some mozzarella and some Parmesan. And we're gonna broil it just long enough to get it bubbly. And then we're gonna get that roast out and make a pretty plate. This is not diet food, but it's real good. We don't always put cheese on it. Sometimes we just do the butter and olive oil and a little bit of garlic and oregano mixture. But with this meal, we want to do the works. And this is going to go into the broiler now. Okay, our meal is done. We've got our salad. I cooked some bow tie pasta and mixed it with the sauce that the roast cooked in. Beautiful roast. It was cooked to perfection. Ended up being about 4.5 hours, and I left it at 350 the whole time. I've got a little sprinkling of Parmesan and basil on top, and that luscious bread. I'm having a glass of wine. If y'all want these recipes, send me a message and I'll send them to you. Y'all have a great night.